911? Can somebody tell me why a federal grand jury was not impaneled in the Hillary Clinton espionage investigation case? It's a rhetorical question. That would be, the typical way you would go about investigating a fairly broad matter. And in the recommendations, the Inspector General says that, and I'm paraphrasing, we really shouldn't have a witness sitting in on an interview of another witness. Really? Now, you're not supposed to have a witness sitting in on in an interview of another witness. So he has to make that recommendation. It's really quite amazing, I think. Now, I want you to hear how the Democrats respond to this. Because the Democrats, the media, and the bad cops in the FBI, they're all on the same page. Because they're protecting Hillary ultimately, and they're protecting Barack Obama. Nobody ever asked, what did Barack Obama know and when did he know it? Nobody even cares. I care. I've been bringing this up since day one. It was his administration. I believe it was called the Obama administration. Here's Chuck Schumer on Capitol Hill today after this IG report comes out, and I guarantee you hasn't read it. It's over 500 pages. He would have to sit there. I mean, it would take a long time. Not just to speed read through it, but to actually digest what's in it. And he didn't do it. He didn't do it. Almost as soon as it came out, he ran to the Senate floor and gave a canned speech. Cut 5, go.
So we now know the long-awaited report from the Inspector General has been made public. Several things are crystal clear. First and foremost, anyone who is hoping to use this report to undermine the Mueller probe or prove the existence of a deep state conspiracy against President Trump will be sorely disappointed.
What is he talking about? He doesn't have to use the phrase deep state conspiracy, but there's no question. It's not even conspiracy. It was people who were acting openly among each other on behalf of Hillary and against Donald Trump. Now, of course, as I said, he didn't read this report, so somebody wrote this speech and stuck it under his schnoz. And to undermine the Mueller probe? Well, what's the purpose of the Mueller probe? I mean, good Lord. Comey was fired for cause. Comey was fired for cause. So Trump didn't obstruct anything. Go ahead.
Those of us who are interested in the truth, however, are pleased to know that the Inspector General wrote time and time again that when it came to the Clinton email investigation, quote, no evidence that the conclusions by department prosecutors...
He can't even read the speech that was written for him. Go ahead.
...affected by bias or improper consideration.
That's not correct. The Inspector General says multiple times that there was bias. He doesn't say there's political bias, but he says there's bias. Specifically as applies to Strzok, and Strzok isn't some bit player. Strzok was the lead FBI investigator in the espionage case as well as the Russia case. Oh, he says there's bias. He may not say there's political bias, which is rather bizarre, quite frankly. But he certainly points out that there's bias. Go ahead.
No evidence that the conclusions by department prosecutors were affected by bias or other improper considerations.
Really? The report added, in the case of Lisa Page and Peter Strzok in the text, that where Strzok is consoling Page, who's worried that Trump would win, and he says, we will stop it. Strzok texts back. The IG report said that potentially indicated or created the appearance that investigative decisions were impacted by bias or improper considerations. It's not only indicative of a biased state of mind, but even more seriously implies a willingness to take official action to impact the presidential candidate's electoral prospects. This is antithetical to the core values of the FBI and the Department of Justice. That's from the report. Go ahead.
Rather, we concluded that they were based on the prosecutor's assessments of the facts, the law, and past department practices.
They were not based on the prosecutor's assessments. Comey stepped in and said that she will not be charged, Hillary Clinton. And in the report, the Inspector General uses the word, as we used here, that Comey usurped, that's the word, usurped the authority of his superiors, including the Attorney General. So Schumer's on the Senate floor lying through both of his teeth. It's incredible. Absolutely lying. Go ahead.
Plain and simple. Couldn't be plainer. Couldn't be a more strong repudiation of those who wish to say that there was bias in the Mueller investigation.
Now, that's what this isn't related specifically to the Mueller investigation. So what is he talking about? This particular IG investigation, and I believe he's doing others, relates to the investigation of the Hillary Clinton violations of the Espionage Act, not Mueller. Go ahead.
Director Comey, the FBI, and DOJ handle the public aspects of the investigation into Hillary Clinton's email correctly? Of course not. We Democrats said that then. The Inspector General makes it clear now. But Director Comey's mishandling of the publicity around the Clinton email campaign all accrued to the benefit of then-candidate Trump, not the other way around.
No, it didn't. And the reason it didn't accrue to the benefit of candidate Trump is because the obstruction that took place here was Comey and his associates, who wanted to make sure that no charges would be brought against the Democrat nominee. And I've talked about this before, and I want you to think it through. Hillary Clinton violated the Espionage Act. She conducted herself with gross negligence on material issues. That's why she set up this private email system to get around the secure official State Department email system. And as Secretary of State, everybody knows they're going to receive and send classified information. Everybody knows it. And we're supposed to play along here and pretend that she didn't. The cover-up that ensued with her lawyers, official and unofficial, and the idiotic statement she made about wiping emails. Oh, you mean like with a rag? The extensive efforts that she and her surrogates went through to conceal emails, to destroy emails. I mean, that's typically what gets people charged with crimes, correct? You imagine if anybody on the Trump team did that? So the FBI went along with this. They did not impanel a grand jury, which is exactly what they should have done. When they questioned Hillary Clinton, it was a couple of hours. Very quick. Out. I don't believe there's even a transcript of it. And it didn't matter what Hillary Clinton said, because in the spring of 2016, as we well know, and as the IG underscores, Comey had already decided he was going to cover for her, that they would take no legal action against her. And so they were very busy changing the words in the memo that they were preparing, that is essentially his speech, in order to dumb it down and water it down as much as possible. And that's what they did. And so Schumer is just part of the problem. Ladies and gentlemen, Schumer supports tyrannical government as long as he thinks it's in his party's favor or his favor. These are not principled people. Hillary Clinton was the Democrat nominee, and she should have been indicted on multiple counts of violating the Espionage Act. And we've since learned from two committees in Congress that in fact, and we learned this today, that in fact Hillary Clinton's emails, certain of her emails, were accessed by foreign entities. By foreign entities. That's a big deal, isn't it? Which is exactly why she wasn't supposed to do what she did. No mention by Mr. Schumer of the collusion between the media and a dozen FBI agents. No concern whatsoever from Mr. Schumer that some of those FBI agents received gifts from media companies for their leaks, I'm sure. Otherwise, why would they get gifts? He's not concerned at all, because Mr. Schumer doesn't care. No concern by Mr. Schumer that Comey usurped the authority of the Attorney General whether or not to charge Hillary Clinton. He's just mad that the former director of the FBI had these press conferences, that's all. He wished that he would have obstructed these investigations, but have done it quietly. That's his complaint. That's what it basically boils down to. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Pretty amazing. We have this Inspector General report, and Chuck Schumer isn't moved 1 centimeter. He's not moved 1 centimeter. No problem over there at the FBI, except to the extent that it hurt Hillary. Otherwise, everything's fine. I was wondering how the Democrats would play this, On the one hand, they need Comey. They need to prop him up because he was the fundamental basis for the appointment of a special counsel. On the other hand, they detest Comey because they need an excuse for Hillary's loss other than the fact that it was Hillary and her ideology and so forth. And so they have to walk a fine line, and they seem to be doing that because both positions cannot be right. They can't both be right. They're incongruous, as we like to say. And so you should ask your Democrat liberal friends, well, which is it? Comey's a good guy, and he should not have been fired, and therefore it's good that we have a special counsel, or Comey's a bad guy, he should have been fired because he hurt Hillary. And then, of course, there's another question I ask here. What say Barack Obama? No, Obama and Comey were chummy. The January 5 meeting in 2017, just a couple of weeks before the new president would take over, very chummy. Comey almost came to tears. He really loved Barack Obama. They really liked each other. The question that's never asked is, if Jim Comey really did sink Hillary Clinton's candidacy, why didn't Barack Obama later fire him on the way out? Couldn't have been impeached or anything else. He would have just left. Now, I've also been saying all along that these bad cops, these leakers in the intelligence services and so forth and so on, they thought Hillary was going to win. They thought there was no way Trump was going to win. And all the so-called big money was on Hillary. But she lost. Do you realize if Donald Trump wasn't elected president and Hillary Clinton was, we wouldn't know anything about any of this? The corruption at the highest levels of the FBI? The corruption at the highest levels of the intelligence agencies? Do you know we wouldn't know any of this? Isn't that incredible? The media wouldn't get to the bottom of it. The media that protect freedom of the press while they're giving tickets to FBI agents for taking sides in a presidential election and other gifts. That media that's protecting the First Amendment. Yeah, we wouldn't know any of this. Those of you who've been with this program for a little bit of time, at least since March of 27, March of last year, you saw how the media reacted. They couldn't believe that somebody would get behind a microphone, pull together the articles they had written, which obviously were based on leaks primarily from the FBI, and I said it at the time. Who else would know all this stuff? The FBI's at the crossroads. And And to be so viciously attacked in such a concerted way, so, we're onto something. We're onto something. And we were. And it's only gotten worse since.